Well, good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Kit Thomas here in the Weather Center at ABC 24 alongside Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett. We're doing a live stream online and on our streaming platforms for the severe weather that we've got ongoing across our viewing area. Of course, this is a weather impact alert day. That means we're tracking the chance for some severe thunderstorms. We've got that level 3 risk around our area, basically I-40 south with the exception of out there towards Haywood County and out towards Madison County as well. They're in a level 2 threat for the day today. This is an area where we could see some strong winds through most of the afternoon. Let's look at the breakdown. The tornado threat is mainly south of Memphis. We've got this area of around 5% here of the chance for severe thunderstorms to produce a tornado. We've had one tornado warning earlier today that was into parts of Fayette County, but that has moved on. Now we're just looking at the severe hail threat, a 15% chance here and a 30% chance for severe wind gusts, possibly up to 70 miles per hour. We've had this whole line of thunderstorms within the last couple hours here, coming out of north central Arkansas into eastern Arkansas and now moving into West Tennessee and northern Mississippi. So let's take a look at the radars. We do have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings in our viewing area. One very large one here that goes out into a little bit of a border county area of our viewing area there. But Clarksdale is under that severe thunderstorm warning at present, or we could see some pretty strong winds coming through this area. The severe thunderstorm warning is for the chance of seeing some strong winds and damaging hail until, get that time up for you, until 6:45 this evening, where we could see those winds getting up to around 60 miles per hour and hail up to about 1 inch in diameter. So large hail, damaging winds, that's going to be sort of the baseline of the severe weather we see today. We've also been keeping an eye on a severe thunderstorm warning just outside of our viewing area here, technically including Lafayette County. Just the southern portion of Lafayette County is not even up to 278 there. Just south of Oxford, we've got this area of some large hail. It just moved through the Water Valley area. It could be moving north of the Bruce area there. But again, this is technically outside our viewing area, for the chance of 1 1/4 inch diameter hail. So that's just a little bit larger than the size of a coin, a quarter coin. So still some large hail that can do some decent damage to a vehicle. So we're keeping an eye on that. But the thing is, we've got some of these isolated cells out ahead of the line. So we've got this complex of storms here, this one that just went through the Tupelo area and some well south of our viewing area. These are more individual storms. And we were talking about that tornado threat, how it's on the lower end, but it's still present. These are the storms that are going to have a better opportunity to produce a tornado. When we get back up to that line of thunderstorms that's moving through Tunica County, parts of Tate County here, into Panola County here, Quitman and Coahoma County, that complex of storms has a lower probability of seeing a tornado spawn from it. It's not impossible, it's just less organized and more of a straight line wind threat and potential for some damaging winds, damaging hail to come through that area as well. So Clarksdale, you're already starting to see some of these storms. Just looping this over the last 30 minutes, we've seen some convection beginning ahead of the line. So these are just partial rain showers that are just getting started. The main gust of wind is going to be sort of on the backside here. So Elaine, Friars Point have already seen that wind really pick up in that area. I'm going to take a look at the velocity, see what the radar site shows for some of those winds that are starting to come into the area here. It may be just sort of on the fringe of the radar site. This is all the way looking from Millington, north of Memphis, all the way down to Clarksdale, so it's kind of difficult to see. But we're still seeing some strong winds. I want to sample this little cluster right here outside of Clarksdale. That area right there around 53 miles per hour, some of those brighter red shades showing up. So still strong winds, not quite to that severe thunderstorm limit, which is 58 technically. 58 and up is where we have severe thunderstorm winds. But this is looking several thousand feet up into the atmosphere, so it may be missing what's happening at the surface. And anytime we're talking about a baseline thunderstorm where it's 60 mile per hour winds, 1 inch diameter hail, that's not going to be everyone. Anyone within it could see a maximum of that kind of threat, but it is something that we're keeping a close eye on and might start to see things evolve as we go over the next several minutes. Of course, I'm meteorologist Kit Thomas. I'm not the only one who's in here. We've also got Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett and all of our production staff here this evening. Appreciate them helping us out. We've also got Facebook and YouTube open. So if you have any comments, ask us, and we'll get to those comments in a little bit. I want to bring in Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett now for his ideas on these thunderstorms. How's it going, Trevor?
Hey there, Kit. Yeah, been a busy afternoon watching these thunderstorms. These all started earlier, right around lunchtime. Had some pretty rough thunderstorms that came through. Actually, some damage reported earlier. We've had some pretty serious tree damage down in East Memphis, Sea Isle Park, Parkway Village areas, and then actually some damage to the safe room at Arlington Elementary School. The waterproof roofing of that building actually blew off in some of the strong winds that we had earlier. We're continuing to watch kind of this second line of thunderstorms that's come through. Again, mainly a wind threat. We do have that severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the risk of high winds through about 9 o'clock tonight. I can tell you that the severe weather threat is ending for a good chunk of the Mid-South. So while we're kind of on this wide view, I want to give the all clear to the areas that I can. I'm going to draw a line here. And if you are north of this line, you are clear of that severe weather threat. So if you're looking up in eastern Arkansas, Memphis and Shelby County into West Tennessee, that severe weather threat is over. If you are north of that line, it's done for you. The area that we're going to watch over the next couple of hours is going to continue to be North Mississippi. They did not get that morning round of thunderstorms. I know in Memphis and West Tennessee, we got the storms around lunchtime. North Mississippi did not get any storms earlier today. So there's still a lot of juice for those storms to work with. So as these storms are moving in, they're starting to pick up a little bit of energy here. That's why we have that severe thunderstorm warning for most of the Mississippi Delta, even over to I-55. That's going to include Tunica, Coahoma, Quitman, Panola, and Tate counties till 6:45, and that could likely be extended. There's no tornado concern at the moment. We don't have a tornado watch in effect. The tornado risk seems to be on the lower side, but of course it's something we can't completely rule out. The bigger concern with these, though, is going to be the high wind gusts, and that is mainly what that thunderstorm warning is in effect for. So kind of like Kit was talking about, up Highway 61 from Clarksdale right up to Tunica, that's kind of the worst zone for the heavy rain and high wind, and that is all moving off to the east. So I know places like Senatobia, even over to Holly Springs, you're already getting some thunderstorms, but there are likely going to be more on the way. Watching this little cell, this one seems like it could be picking up north of Holly Springs, kind of east of Byhalia up to the Sladen area. Very heavy rain there, probably some gusty wind. We don't have a warning on that one right now, though, but definitely a stout thunderstorm, and that's going to be moving into northern Benton and Tippah counties in the next bit. There are some thunder showers in southern Fayette, through Hardeman, coming into McNairy counties. Those also don't have a warning on them right now, and they don't look very impressive to me. They are definitely producing some heavy rain and thunder. So if you're out in Selma right now having a barbecue, probably want to wrap that up soon. But right now there's no warning associated with that thunderstorm. Again, the only warning we do have is for the section of the storm in North Mississippi for the potential of some high wind gusts. And this is all moving off to the east at about 50 miles an hour. So what I want to do is kind of zoom out here, and I'm going to track this out over the next little bit. As this continues to move off toward the east. Again, all at about 50 miles an hour. So I'm just going to track this entire line of thunderstorms here through the rest of our area. 50 miles an hour is pretty quick. That's going to put it out of here soon. So by 7 or 8 p.m., this severe weather threat is going to be totally over. That watch goes until 9. It's probably going to be allowed to be canceled early. But by Holly Springs, you're pretty much already getting some heavy rain and thunder, but the main round by about 6:29. Selmer by about 6:30. So an early heads up, about 15 minutes if you're in Selmer, heavy rain and high wind gust. Batesville by about 6:44, 6:45. Oxford just after 7 o'clock. So about another hour into Oxford, these showers and thunderstorms, they're going to be coming into your area. Want to kind of investigate the wind speeds. And as Kit was mentioning here, wind is our biggest concern, but we don't have a great view in this particular area. This is one of those radar dead zones. We have radars in Memphis, actually in Millington, Columbus, Mississippi, and Jackson, Mississippi. And that kind of puts this area almost in a radar hole. So we can't get a great view of the winds, but we can see enough that those winds could be a little bit on the stronger side. Where you see the brighter colors in here, that is likely indicative of wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles an hour potentially reaching to the ground. That's mainly going to be northern Coahoma, northern Quitman counties in the next bit. I'll kind of poke around here and just give you an idea. 45, 50 miles an hour. Again, it might not seem like much, but that could definitely do some damage. We're also seeing some pretty decent wind here in Tate County. Near Como in northern Panola County as well. Those brighter colors are really showing up. in there and really indicating the potential there of some pretty decent wind. I'll go back to the query mode and just kind of show you right there on the Tate-Panola County line. There's a 58-mile-an-hour wind gust. Now that's a little bit up in the clouds, like we talk about a lot. These winds are not being measured right on the ground. The radar measures a little bit higher up, but you can see a little bit off the ground, 58 to 60-mile-an-hour winds. Again, that's mainly in North Mississippi. If you're in West Tennessee, if you're in Lauderdale County, we got a question there for Lauderdale County. This severe weather threat is winding down for you. I know the rain is continuing, but the risk of any severe weather pretty much right now is nearly limited to only North Mississippi. Even DeSoto County has cleared out. It's still raining there, but the severe weather threat's wrapping up for DeSoto County. It's really going to be the rest of North Mississippi that we watch for the next couple of hours. Now, again, it is still raining downtown, not as heavily as it was. If you were watching the news at 5, Kit showed a camera downtown, this camera, and you could not see the skyline. It was raining so hard. So it has cleared up quite a bit. It is still wet there. Not a good day to be outside at all. We kind of expected this to almost be a washout of a day with some showers and thunderstorms. What I am watching here, Kit, and I'll get your opinion on this here in a second, is the northern section of this thunderstorm down in North Mississippi. There's not a warning on this at the moment, but through Marshall County and coming into Tippah County, we are really seeing some heavy rain and some decent wind signatures, and that is outside of the severe thunderstorm warning. So northeastern Tate County into Marshall County, it's not severe, but we still have wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour, possibly even a little higher than that, and that could do some damage, even if it is not considered a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, this is going to continue to move into an area that is favorable for these storms to develop. So if you're out there in Tippah, Benton, Alcorn counties, McNairy County, Lauderdale County, or excuse me, Lafayette County. I was reading a comment here about Lauderdale County, Tennessee, you're clear. Lafayette County, Mississippi is what I meant to say. Those group of counties in North Mississippi, that's where we're really going to watch for over the next little bit, where we could see some decent wind gusts and heavy rain as this continues to move off. Again, it's moving east, a little bit of a southeasterly component. They're kind of propagating down to the south at about 50 miles an hour. So for the next hour to hour and a half, we're going to keep an eye on these thunderstorms. Again, main concern with these is going to be the high wind gusts. We don't have a tornado concern right now. We don't even have a tornado watch. Of course, can't completely rule that out this time of year. We saw it earlier with a tornado warning. No confirmed report of a touchdown with that, but we did have some damage from the high wind gusts. What we are going to watch, though, again, over the next bit, if you're in Ashland, Ripley, Mississippi, Corinth, Oxford, Batesville, start to wrap up those plans. Hopefully nobody's out on Sardis Lake right now. I'm sure somebody is, though. If you know one of those people that happens to be out on Sardis Lake, might want to give them a buzz. We've had some showers out there on the lake, but really the heavier rain is starting to come in and just a ton of lightning. Just in this view, about 70 strikes of lightning, but we zoom out. We can see where all of that lightning is as those storms are moving off to the east. So again, mainly North Mississippi, the concern right now, things are starting to clear up in DeSoto County, most of West Tennessee and eastern Arkansas. We'll have some rain for the next little bit, but as we put on the future radar, I'll show you that. We'll just kind of loop it into motion here. This is the state it is right now. By 7 or 8 o'clock, we really start to see things calm on down. There's 9 p.m. The radar is really clearing up. And then the rest of the night actually looks pretty quiet. I don't expect a ton of rain overnight. And even into tomorrow morning, going up to about 6 a.m., things look pretty quiet. But we are going to watch tomorrow afternoon, though, through Memorial Day. We will likely have more thunderstorms develop late tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon. So while you might be able to get a little bit of dry time, you know, it's not going to rain all day Memorial Day. When it does rain, it could be a little bit on the heavy side. And just like we're seeing today, some of those storms could produce some high wind gusts. So meteorologist Kit Thomas joining me here again on this Sunday evening. We're going to keep an eye on the radar here for at least the next hour. But right now, Kit, for sure, the main concern seems to be those gusty winds and obviously some lightning too.
Yeah, and I want to take things back to Marshall County. You were mentioning the thunderstorms there starting to build up a little bit. Some interesting things have been happening with this. You can see on radar very clearly. Right here is Arkabutla Lake, northwest of the Senatobia area. You see sort of this pulse, this wave of these light green pixels showing up here that over the last hour has pushed through. That cluster of thunderstorms that has really just blown up over Tate County and Panola County, that's sort of the outflow. So think of it as the breath breath, the exhale of the thunderstorms that we had in Memphis a couple hours ago, all of those storms were just collapsing. So that's the rain-cooled air that's getting thrust forward, and that actually sparked up a line of those thunderstorms just right there from Senatobia up to just northwest of the Holly Springs area. So that's what has started off this cluster of thunderstorms. And the thing is, it sort of expanded very quickly, so it's sort of become its own complex there. And that's on the north end of where we have a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're keeping a close eye on this. At this point, when we look at the winds, they really haven't quite gotten to that severe threshold yet of 58, 60 miles per hour or so. But we have seen some pixels in this area just in the last few minutes here getting upwards of 50 miles per hour. So right here in eastern Tate County, this cluster here, that's getting upwards of 50. So we push that forward. It's not really stayed centered or organized right there. So still some strong winds within this, a little bit of 50-mile-an-hour winds right there in eastern Tate County. But up towards the Holly Springs area and northeast of there, nothing really showing up on radar that would pique my interest for severe wind gusts in this area, but still pretty strong. Where we do have some of those more severe winds are here into Quitman County and Coahoma County. We've got 58, 59 or so. It's right there on the cusp of 58, 59, 60 mile per hour winds. Just got an update on the scan there, so that's why that one dropped down. But some of these winds are severe, so this is where we're more expecting the more widespread chance for damage. So trees could be coming down. You're likely not going to see much damage to your home unless you've got some loose shingles out there. Those might get ripped up a little bit, but some of these stronger wind gusts coming through here into Quitman County. So this line is moving southeast. It's not a very fast storm system, but it is still producing some strong winds within it. So it's not going to outrun itself. We're just going to keep seeing those storms, those storm winds, since they're faster than the motion, continue to produce some straight line winds around the area. We're going to get an idea of the motion of this storm. It's moving east to southeast or so, around 50 miles per hour. So it is moving quick, but not terribly quick, not quite the highway speeds. But as we switch over here, I'm going to grab a specific tool, sort of push this east. That's not a really good line there. I'm going to retry and draw that again. But as it's moving around 50 miles per hour, it's going to be there pretty quick here. So let me just get one more attempt on that line, trying to approximate sort of where the forward edge of that storm is. We'll push it out for the next 45 minutes here. We're looking at places like Asa around 627, so about right now it's coming in. If you get a little bit farther downstream though, Crowder around 634, Cortland around 638, Abbeville around 643 there in Lafayette County. The Oxford area probably getting there around 656 or so, but again, give it about 5 minutes leeway on the estimates of this, as we could see sort of that development out ahead, like we were just talking about here around Tate County and Panola County there. We've had some development ahead of the line of storms, so it still could arrive a little sooner. So taking shelter, staying indoors over the next little bit, like Trevor was saying around Sardis Lake, staying off the lake, or if you know someone who's on the lake, seeing if you can get in contact with them, get them inside before those thunderstorms roll in. We were looking at the camera just before the 5 o'clock hour as these storms were rolling into Memphis, and you could see this very clear shelf cloud. It's basically a wall of clouds that have dropped down. Not a wall cloud, that's something different, but it's this big shelf. Think like on your wall. You've got a shelf, it's a long line there that sticks out underneath the base of the clouds, underneath the ceiling. That's what we had roll through the Memphis area, and it was a pretty impressive picture of those clouds rolling in. That's usually a show of where we have the heavy winds coming in, sort of that gust of the winds on the lower side of the storms as it pushes out and starts to lift some of the moisture out ahead of it. Looking back towards the Holly Springs area, I've got just an eye on the line here. Notice with me that we've got sort of this pinch in, sort of that kink in from the forward side of the line. Sometimes with linear storms like this, we can get quick rotations on the leading edge. really doesn't have the radar signature we would expect for it on the storm wind sides, but we do have those winds here that we've got an updraft. This would not be rotation necessarily, but we've got an updraft, so we've got those converging winds that are coming directly into one another south of Galena. So anytime we see that convergence on the leading edge, sometimes that becomes a little more of a rotational signature, but this is more just winds coming directly in and directly out. It would be more concerning if they were, say, a little more skewed to one another, transverse we'll call them, so where they're rotating, that would potentially produce a tornado. Not seeing that at the moment, but keeping a close eye on this. Of course, I want to send things over to meteorologist Trevor Burchett. He's been keeping an eye on Weather Service and all the other sides of this storm system, which you've been keeping an eye on there.
Yeah, Kit, just watching a couple of those thunderstorms down in North Mississippi. We had that thunderstorm warning south of Oxford earlier down near Water Valley and Bruce. You were talking about that. They're going to let that expire at 6:30 as expected. And that is that warning that, is kind of out ahead of the main line of storms. This one right here, it was kind of already out of our coverage area, but now it is continuing to exit and looks like it's going to continue to do so. Now, they are going to continue the severe thunderstorm warning here for the Delta region, and that's going to go for Coahoma, Tunica, Quitman, Panola, and Tate counties. And that seems to be kind of the strongest batch of storms, maybe including what's going on in Marshall County right now. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on, is that zone right now. But before I get too deep into that, I do want to kind of zoom out and do just a reset. I do want to give East Arkansas the clear from the severe weather concern. They just dropped the severe thunderstorm warning for Phillips County as that storm is moving out. So if you are in eastern Arkansas, I know it's still raining, the severe weather concern is done for you. West Tennessee, I can almost give you the clear. Memphis and Shelby County, you're done with the severe weather threat. We still have some rain, but I don't expect any more severe weather. There is this one little batch of storms out in Hardeman County coming into McNairy County. It's not severe right now, but it could produce some high wind gusts and some thunder and lightning. Really, the strongest part of this storm, though, is what's going on down through North Mississippi, coming into northern Benton County, through Marshall County and Holly Springs, down into western eastern Tate County, northern Panola County into Batesville, coming right over Sardis Lake in a bit into Oxford, and then also through Quitman County. So that is the zone that has the severe thunderstorm warning on it. Again, not a tornado concern at the moment, and I really don't expect this to be a huge one. I think our biggest issue today is going to be the high wind gust and some thunder and lightning as we expected. Want to see if they've updated the speed on this. Sometimes these things, when they propagate like this, they like to speed up a little bit. They've still got it at 50 miles an hour moving to the east. So I want to track this whole thing out just one more time here and get you an idea of when, number one, this could be in your area, and number two, when it's going to get out of here. It won't last long once it gets there, but it is going to be some heavy rain for a little bit. So that's going to be near Batesville, pretty much in the next 5 minutes, 6:37 or so. Faulkner, Mississippi at 6:48. Ripley at 6:58, that's Ripley, Mississippi. Oxford at about 7 o'clock, and then New Albany at 7:24. So again, this storm continued to move to the east at about 50 miles an hour. So Oxford, you have a few minutes if you need to get inside, wrap up the barbecue. I don't think many people are having those pool parties today. It was kind of chilly. I know a lot of people wanted to, but it just didn't work out that way. But if you do want to wrap any of those outdoor plans up, Oxford, Corinth, Ripley, Mississippi, Batesville, those are the areas that need to start doing that right now. And then you'll have heavy rain and gusty winds for, maybe 20 or 30 minutes before this clears on out of here. We'll have some leftover showers through maybe 9 o'clock, but then overnight tonight, honestly, looks like it is going to turn out pretty dry. So again, that's that early heads up for you. Oxford, Ripley, Mississippi, and Corinth, that is kind of where this storm is going to be headed next. Clarksdale, you're still getting the heavy rain and a lot of thunder, but you're kind of on the back edge of it now, starting to clear up. Still some indications of some pretty decent wind in northern Quitman, southern Tunica counties coming into Tate County and Panola County. We're probably seeing winds in here, at least in the clouds, 50 to 60 miles an hour. Now, once that makes it to the ground, it's probably more like 40 to 50, but still indications of some pretty strong wind. And then even to the north, throughout Tate County into Marshall County, we're also seeing some pretty decent signs of high winds. We don't have a thunderstorm warning for Marshall County or Holly Springs right now, but still a very heavy thunderstorm with a lot of lightning and some pretty high wind gusts. And you can see that lightning there kind of surrounding Holly Springs and moving to the east. So again, Tippah, Benton, Alcorn counties, you need to make sure you are hunkering down, as is Sardis Lake. We've got a lightning strike right there over the lake at this moment. Let me see if I can actually just turn off the radar here. And you can see right over Sardis Lake, we've got that lightning strike just on the north side of the lake. We've got some lightning coming in. So if you are close enough to hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Lightning can jump way outside of the clouds sometimes. Even if the storm is still several miles away, we can still get lightning that jumps out ahead of it. So everybody at Sardis Lake needs to be heading back to the dock, getting in before this storm starts to head back in your direction, because it is literally coming over the lake right now, and especially back toward the Sardis exit on 55. If you're trying to get off the lake and come back through Memphis, it's going to be a pretty rainy and stormy ride. Batesville, kind of the same thing for you with those storms rolling on in. So we're going to sit here for the next couple of minutes here. We might take a break here and just leave you with some radar images and cameras and things like that. That way we can hop back in if we need to. I do want to remind you, as you're out and about today or tomorrow, we will continue severe weather coverage and updates. Great app to have is the ABC 24 app. It's free. Search it on your phone, iPhone or Android. That way, if you are out on the lake tomorrow, again, it's not going to storm all day Memorial Day. We'll get some breaks, but you need to be aware that a storm could pop up at any point. Make sure you're watching the radar there. We'll also send you alerts to your phone if a storm pops up near you. And just like we're streaming right now, if it gets rough enough, we will continue our severe weather coverage on the ABC 24 Plus app. That's for smart TVs. If you're out, at the dock by the lake, if you have a Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV, you can put us on there. You don't need cable, you don't need satellite, you don't need anything except internet. And if you have that, you can download the ABC 24 app to your smart TV and watch our coverage just like you're watching right now. That's also great. I tell a lot of folks that for people that have kids down at Ole Miss, most of those kids do not have cable anymore. I know that from experience. So you can tell them on their Roku, you can put our app on there. And if it does get bad enough, they can tune in and watch us. Kit, they're going to extend this severe thunderstorm warning for Oxford now. We kind of expected this, still having some pretty high winds, but there is a new severe thunderstorm warning that is going to be extended. That's for Quitman, Panola, Tate. It did include parts of Marshall County now and Lafayette County and Oxford. And this one is going to go until, let's see here. It has sped up a little bit, 60 miles an hour, but this is going to go until 7:30. So as we talked about, Kit, this storm kind of propagating a little faster, up to 60 mile an hour forward speeds. That usually means the wind is also picking up in the storm. So Oxford, just a few minutes, this storm is going to be on your doorstep. But Kit, let's head over to you and talk more about this new severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, pretty wide severe thunderstorm warning now across northern Mississippi into some of our border counties outside our viewing area and some of our more southern counties here. So this is going to be basically just continuing, like we said, until around 7:30. We're going to stick around until the severe weather threat is pretty much done here for you here in northern Mississippi. But we can, of course, reiterate sort of that all clear for basically all of western Tennessee, nearly all of our Arkansas counties. There's just a few thunderstorms there on the very southern end of Phillips County at the moment, but Phillips County is no longer within any active warning. So you're pretty much done at this point, Helena, West Helena. You're not going to be seeing any more impacts from this. Clarksdale is on sort of the back edge of that thunderstorm, though, but that previous warning has been trimmed, and it still does include Clarksdale at the moment. I've been keeping an eye on the leading edge of that storm south of the Holly Springs area here in Panola County. This is an area that we were looking at earlier where we just saw those winds converging. They weren't quite the transverse rotating winds just yet. But it's starting to look a little more dicey here as we're starting to see more of that parallel here. So we've got the greens going towards the radar site, the reds going away. So that's where we've got some very weak rotation showing up there. We've had a little bit of a cell merger here. So this complex here, area here may be rotating. It might just be because we've got a couple of different cells moving in. And then around the Batesville area, just north of Batesville, some in and outs there. So maybe a little bit of rotation starting up on the leading edge of this line of thunderstorms. What's happening right now is we've got these winds that are coming in, say from the south, from the southwest somewhere, and then we've got the storms themselves coming in from the due west. So whenever we have these kinds of winds that are colliding and coming in from different directions, that sort of scraping of these winds on the leading edge there, that's what can sometimes lead to these storms getting a little bit of a spin just anywhere along the leading edge of this. These are very quick spin up tornadoes, not the ones that are on the ground for 10, 20, 30 miles long with the individual supercells. We call this a quasi-linear setup. It's sort of a line of storms, but then sometimes you can get those little hooks that produce a tornado very quickly right along the leading edge. So don't want to keep, I do want to keep you aware of this. Don't want to make you scared about it. The thing is, these are going to be very quick tornadoes if they do touch down. So as a warning is issued, I want you to be ready to go to your safe place if we do have a tornado warning. And there's none yet at the moment, but it's still something we want to keep you always aware of. So looking at our tornado safety tips here, of course, if you're in your home, go to the smallest room, lowest level of your home, away from all windows. If you have a basement, that's going to be a great place to be. If you have an interior closet or a closet that's under a stairwell, that's also going to be a good safe place. Lowest possible floor on a high-rise building is also going to be a good safe place, or seek shelter at an interior stairwell as well. It's covered up here by my cart here. But of course, with these winds starting to just rotate just a little bit, it's not quite enough for a tornado warning to be issued, but these are areas we are keeping our eye on, and the National Weather Service, who issues these warnings. All these polygons you see here, they're the ones who issue these. They're keeping a close eye on that as well, I'm sure. So, of course, this whole area could still produce some strong winds. You can sort of see where we've got the heavier convection, where those winds are pushing the line out ahead a little faster. So that's all going to be affecting downstream. Oxford, we've been talking about you south of you more, how you hadn't been in that initial severe thunderstorm warning we had in southern Lafayette County. Now you are within that severe thunderstorm. Batesville is also within it there in parts of Panola County, the whole area of Panola County technically under that severe thunderstorm warning, up into parts of southern Marshall County, where we've been looking at some of those areas of quick rotation. So if you've been seeing some of that heavy rainfall in places like Water Valley, Tucapula there, Taylor, you're not done. We've got another round of storms coming in. If you just hear the rain is stopping, you might be thinking, why is there another warning? There's another line knocking on your doorstep here within the next hour or so. So, of course, we're keeping an eye on chat. We've got several people on Facebook and YouTube who are watching us as well. Anyone who jumps into chat, let us know if you're watching from northern Mississippi. We've had a few folks from different areas of our viewing area chiming in as well. So let us know where you're watching from. If you can safely observe what the weather looks like out there, and let us know in chat how it looks, if things have been changing for us. And if you get any good pictures of that as well, that's the wrong button there. If you get any good pictures, you can, on your Facebook page there, go to the ABC24 Weather Watchers Facebook page. You can scan that QR code or just search ABC24 Weather Watchers. You can join us on there, and you can share those photos for us as well. If you're watching online, you can also watch us on your TV, severe weather coverage on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. If you have a smart TV, you very likely have one of these apps there. You can find our streaming app on there as well. You can also watch us from our app, our app on Apple Store and Google Play. You can text apps to 901-321-7520. Multiple ways to be watching us when we're doing severe coverage like this, like we have through the day to day. So getting back to radar, of course, we do still have the chance for these storms to be strong. They've got a lot of lightning, like Trevor was mentioning. If you're outside around the Sardis Lake area, we already had that one strike of lightning right over Sardis Lake, but some pretty intense lightning with these complex thunderstorms here. So again, we've got sort of isolated storms out ahead of the line, and then the big long line that's gobbling up all that remains. These individual thunderstorms have a potential for a greater potential for tornadoes, but what energy remains could still be consolidated by that line of severe thunderstorms. I'm going to go back to this area just because we've got still these little bitty curves just right there and right there. Those little inflow notches, we call them, and even one back towards Panola County. Keeping a close eye just as the radar continues to update. Sometimes it looks better, sometimes it looks worse. This looks worse, we'll call it, for less organized, but it's still an area that, again, whenever we have these kinds of lines of thunderstorms that push through, some of them will push through a little faster than the others, and that can just induce a little bit of rotation and can produce a tornado very quickly. Some of these kinds of tornadoes only last for a few minutes versus a supercell. That's the one I always say, look at the back of your left hand. That shape of an individual thunderstorm, that's a supercell thunderstorm. And those are the storms that produce very long track tornadoes. We're not looking at that today. These are going to be very quick punch tornadoes through northern Mississippi. I'm going to send things over to meteorologist Trevor Burchett. Trevor, of course, we've been sticking with this over the last 45 minutes or so. Looks like we're going to stick around for at least another 45.
Yeah, might as well. If we're here, we might as well hang out and keep everybody updated. I do have some good news on that thunderstorm watch, and Kit, forgive me if you hit on this. I was trying to get this graphic updated, but we did get some of the counties canceled from that severe thunderstorm watch. So Memphis, Shelby County, and DeSoto County, you've been dropped from the thunderstorm watch. We'd already given you the all clear a minute ago. Eastern Arkansas is clear. Most of West Tennessee is clear. The folks we're going to continue to watch for the next little bit is the rest of North Mississippi, also Hardeman and McNairy counties. Those are the zones that still have some thunderstorms coming in and still could produce some high wind gusts and hail. That is our biggest concern with these is going to be the high wind and especially the lightning on a big weekend like Memorial Day weekend. Lightning can definitely be dangerous to all the folks that are outside. I know most of my friends were either at Pickwick or Sardis, something like that. Pickwick's about to get some storms too, if you know anybody that did go out that way up and down the Tennessee River. But there is at least a slight concern of some of these brief spin-up tornadoes like Kit was talking about. These usually don't do much damage, but with a line like this, we can get little quick, sometimes even 30-second tornadoes that can touch down and produce some winds of 80 to 90 miles an hour. So even though it is, generally a day that we don't expect large tornadoes or serious tornadoes, we can get little brief ones that can still do some damage. We don't have that concern right now, but sometimes when you get these high winds coming from behind the storm like this, you get some wind that's coming in a different direction ahead of the storm. That can sometimes help something to spin up really quick. So we're going to just stay with here and keep an eye on things for the next little bit. Just make sure nothing happens. But in general, that tornado threat is on the lower side. Can never rule anything out, though, especially in May. I want to zoom back into North Mississippi. Clarksdale, you're starting to clear up just a little bit. The worst is past. Clarksdale, Coahoma County, Tunica County, we can give you the all clear from the severe weather threat. Marks and Quitman County, almost done. But really, Panola County, just now getting the worst of it. So coming into Batesville, from Senatobia down to Batesville through Como, those zones are getting the heaviest rain and the high wind gusts. That's pretty much right over Sardis Lake right now and coming into Oxford as well. So Sardis Lake getting really hammered by some heavy rain and lightning, gusty wind as well. That's all moving into Oxford here in the next little bit. I'm going to track out just this section of the thunderstorm. And the thing is, this is continuing to speed up. It's moving to the east at about 60 miles an hour. So that's indicating not only is it moving forward quickly, it also probably has some pretty high winds within the storm. So we'll time this out just to get through Lafayette County. You see near Cortland and Pope pretty much right now. Oxford by 7:01. So Oxford, you have about 15 minutes. This thing's going to come right up 278 into town. Myrtle at 7:03, Taylor at 7:04, and then New Albany at 7:12. So really within the next 30 minutes or so, this storm is going to be coming through Oxford, and it won't last long. It'll blow through pretty quickly, but for those 30 minutes, we could be really dealing with some heavy rain, high wind gusts, and lightning. Also some potent storms off to the north. Holly Springs, the worst of it's past you now, moving to the east, but Benton County and Tippah County really seeming like they're getting the worst of it. And where you're seeing that bow signature right there, that is really indicating some high winds. So coming through Tippah and Benton counties right now, we probably have some decent wind. The same thing just to the north of Corinth. That's going to ride right along the Alcorn and McNairy County line. Those little signatures there indicating some pretty decent wind. So that does not have a thunderstorm warning on it right now. But if you are in those areas, Selmer even, Corinth, Ripley, Mississippi, Ashland, Mississippi, those are zones that we're also going to be watching some pretty decent wind gusts. So, and again, this is also headed toward Pickwick. So I know that's kind of out of our coverage area, but a lot of folks are at Pickwick this weekend, especially. Not the best weekend to be out there, but people are going to find a way to have fun regardless. So Ripley, Mississippi by about 6:54. And that's going to be Corinth by 6:55, Savannah and Pickwick about 6:58, and then Rienzi at 7:16. They are going to put a severe thunderstorm warning on this segment. We were just talking about the fact that it didn't have a warning on it, but they are drawing up that box right now. So we will be seeing some decent wind within this section of the storm. It did not have a warning on it at the moment, but as it is continuing east, it's continuing to pick up some steam. So that's a track on what is about to be a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is going to be for Selmer, Corinth, Savannah, Tennessee, over toward Pickwick, Jumpertown, and then Rienzi through Alcorn County as well. So 60+ mile-an-hour winds possible in there. While we're waiting on that official warning to drop, we can kind of zoom in here and get an idea of where these strongest winds could be. I'm really seeing it light up there in southeastern Benton County, coming into Tippah County right now, those pinks that you're seeing in there. And I hate that I don't have any cities that are popping up. There we go. Radar likes to glitch out just a little bit. But coming into Ripley right now, 40, 50, maybe 60 mile-an-hour winds in here. Some of those could really accelerate and be a little bit quicker as they get down to the surface. But again, if you're just joining us, a new severe thunderstorm warning for these zones: Tippah, Benton, Alcorn, probably for McNairy County as well, possibly portions of Hardeman County. That's for this segment of the storm that is continuing to move to the east. I do want to show you, again, this is not going to last all night long. These storms continue to move out. That's the radar right now as we put it into motion. We'll stop it at about 9 p.m. Notice by 9 o'clock, well, the radar is clearing out. I think most of tonight is dry through tomorrow morning. We are probably dry. So as you look at your Memorial Day forecast, the earlier in the day might be a little better, because as we go further into the afternoon, that's when we're going to have a chance of some of those pop-up thunderstorms to develop. So again, it's not going to storm all day Memorial Day, but we do have that potential of some pop-up thunderstorms, especially by the afternoon and the evening. Let's get back to the radar now and show you, again, really the zone we're watching is in far northern Mississippi. I do want to give that all clear one more time. If you're just joining us, the area that I'm circling is clear from the severe weather potential. That's Memphis, DeSoto County, Tunica County, Coahoma County, all of eastern Arkansas, most of West Tennessee. The severe weather is done. It's still raining, but that rain is going to be clearing on out. The zone we're still watching is what's ahead of this line, and that's going to be Batesville, Oxford, Ripley, Mississippi, Ashland, over to Corinth and Selmer. They are still getting some decent heavy rain and high wind gust in there. So meteorologist Kit Thomas still hanging on, watching these storms. We'll stay for at least the next little bit. Let it at least maybe get to Oxford and into Corinth, because Corinth, there you see that new warning. If you want to talk about that, Kit, Corinth probably going to get some decent wind here in the next little bit as well.
Yeah, we're just starting to see that. Of course, we've got YouTube chat up right now. Literally a minute before Weather Service indicated they were going to issue that, I was like, oh yeah, Selmer's good and clear. Well, it's just started to ramp back up right here. So, of course, what we're mainly seeing is this line segment right here. So you see how it sort of has that backward C shape. That's where we're talking about a little bit of that punch of air, punch of winds on the backside of this, pushing that forward a little bit. So that's leading to some stronger winds. That's probably going to move into the Corinth area. Selmer, you're right on the corner of it, so pretty much Selmer's not going to see the worst of it, though we still could see some strong winds in that area, even if they aren't severe technically. But this is sort of on the edge of the radar view from Memphis, and now we're looking from Columbus, Mississippi, just south of here. So keeping an eye on some of those winds. It's still several thousand feet up, so we're not quite seeing the surface winds with that thunderstorm, but you can kind of see on the backside there around the Holly Springs area some brighter greens. These would be 40 to 55 mile per hour winds there. Not quite too severe just yet, but we're keeping a very close eye on that. Still looking at the potential for any some rotation here around Panola County into a little bit of southern Benton County there, a little around Tippah County. Nothing, again, that jumps off the screen at me as a tightening couplet just yet. Just a mezzo, just a little area of rotation within the thunderstorm. Very, very weak at the time. of at least our viewing right now. Looking back here towards the Selmer area, Corinth, you can sort of see right where we had that Boeing segment, that little backward C shape I mentioned a moment ago. You can see how those winds are pushing forward a little bit quicker in some of those areas, so that's going to lead to some more straight-lined wind effects. So Corinth, you're likely going to see some decent wind here very, very soon. But the backside of this, just some light rain, like Trevor was mentioning. Everything is all clear here for the Memphis area. I do want to put a track on this storm, though, as we're seeing this moving through. Through our eastern viewing area here. This area right in here is where I want the camera to be. So getting that forward here, that severe thunderstorm warning is moving forward pretty quickly, around 55 miles per hour. So pretty strong winds with this, as well as just the motion. It's going to come up on you pretty quickly here. So I'm going to get that 55 mile per hour wind gust motion forward here. So Corinth, you're going to be there pretty much within the next 5 to 10 minutes here. So around 6:54 on that estimate. I drew it a little ahead of where the storm is right now, just to give you a little more heads up. The Rienzi area, it's going to take until around 7 o'clock. So we still have a few more minutes here before it gets to there. Glenn, we're looking right after 7 o'clock as well. Biggersville, we're looking around 6:58 for it getting to your area. So still pretty widespread area of those thunderstorms. I'm going to push it forward a little bit more, get a little farther outside of our viewing area. So places around Burnsville around 7:10, Gaston around 7:14, 7:15 or so, and then around 7:20, Waterloo, Mississippi, Alabama. You can see that thunderstorm moving into that area. Of course, that's a different National Weather Service out here towards Waterloo. That's the Huntsville National Weather Service responsibility. So they'll be handling that warning whenever it is needed to be issued. So we're keeping a close eye on this whole line. It's not just here, it's also all the way down to Batesville. Clarksdale, you're now clear of this. We have trimmed back the backside of that severe thunderstorm warning. So Clarksdale is clear. Parts of Quitman County still within that severe thunderstorm warning. The Marks area, that will likely see that area drop off pretty quickly as well. Notice here where we've got that line that's more northeast to southwest, and then it turns to due south right there. That may be an area to keep an eye on for sort of a surge of these storms pushing in on the backside and pushing forward faster. And that can sometimes induce some rotation on that northern side as well. So I want to keep an eye on that. Again, this is not going to be as cut and dry as, say, early April was, or some of the other tornado events we've had so far this spring. This is going to be ones we've got to keep an eye on it, keep a look and see if it starts to rotate a little bit there. It might start and then it will stop, and any of these could produce a quick tornado. These winds here just on the backside of the I-55 corridor, that's where we're talking about those winds surging south and around. So some pretty strong winds there. I want to get an investigation on some of those wind gusts around that area. 63, 60, 59, so still some severe winds gusting in that area. So that's where we could see some fairly strong winds, possibly some damage coming in from that side of things. And then you can kind of see where we've got that switch over to the Columbus radar. A little bit of that inbound there, outbound there, so that's some rotation there developing right along that bend in the line where we could see some quick spin-up tornadoes, possibly. It's not happening right now. Here into parts of Tippah County here, we've got a couple other areas of just some very, very weak rotation. Again, nothing that looks very dire. This is mainly for straight line wind threat. Going into the Corinth area, we've got sort of that convergence of those winds. Again, nothing rotationally showing up, but still some strong winds there around Corinth. That's going to be coming in very, very quickly. You can see we've got sort of those more gray colors there. That's the very light wind. The heavy rain is where we're going to start to see the winds picking up. So once the winds pick up, the rain's going to pick up, and vice versa. Once you hear the rain, the winds are going to really start to pick up as well. So we've got everything very together. We're not seeing like what it was around the Memphis area, where the winds advanced well ahead of the rain and pushed in that shelf cloud. We're not going to see that kind of structure with this thunderstorm. It's just going to be a wall of rain and wind that comes in to the Corinth area there in Alcorn County. I'm trying to find the Corinth camera to pull up and show you what it looks like in that direction. So let me pull up my camera here. So this is the Midtown camera, so I'll have to switch it over to Corinth. You don't know? We'll see if it works here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Looks like we almost have that shelf cloud just right there coming in. So you can almost see under the cloud that very dark area there. This is Corinth, Mississippi, or the railroad tracks there. Looks like we've got a decent shelf cloud. You can kind of see it up back here behind me. So sometimes forecasting shelf clouds is difficult, so I'll eat my share of crow there for that. But a pretty decent structure on this. I wish we could tilt this up to look a little bit higher there into that storm, but still going to be some strong winds that come in. Whenever we talk about a shelf cloud, that's basically the winds from the storm have been dropping down and pushing forward, and that cold air that falls down at the base of a thunderstorm acts pretty much like a cold front, and it pushes up all of the warm air all the way up that front, and eventually it starts to condense a little quicker than the base of the thunderstorm. So you get that pushed in to that shelf cloud, and it's just right there on the leading edge. So around the Corinth area, probably some interesting structure, but it could be a strong thunderstorm that rolls in right after that. So be careful if you go sightseeing for that thunderstorm rolling in. It's a pretty long line of storms here. It's warned from Greenville, Mississippi, all the way up to Selmer, Tennessee. So I want to get just a measure on the width of this storm. Almost 200 miles wide for a cluster of thunderstorms here. So pretty widespread. Could do some damage anywhere along that line. But this storm is going to continue to push southeast. Of course, Columbus, Mississippi with some severe thunderstorms out that direction as well. Back towards the Oxford area. We're starting to really see those thunderstorms coming into your area pretty clear right now. So that's where things are going to start to get a little more rowdy, a little more noisy there. So we could see some strong winds and definitely some heavy rain and possibly some small hail. The hail threat with these storms hasn't really been the primary risk, though it is still possible. It's not the thing that we've been most concerned with. I'm going to get a look at the hail tracks on this line just in the last couple hours. Yeah, most of the hail has been from these individual storms south of our area, those individual supercells. And then we've just had some messy little bits of hail within these storms. Up to an inch is the current warning, but I don't think that's going to be the primary threat for the most part. I'm going to send things back over to Trevor in a moment. He's getting some things updated over there. So we'll get him and his insight on these storms in just a minute here. But of course, we've got some of those winds moving into Corinth. Like I said, it's a little dark right now. You've got some of those dark skies to the northwest. That storm is coming in very, very quickly. They are issuing a new warning outside of our viewing area as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But pretty much this is going to be the last wave of severe for us this evening. The thing is, we've got all of our counties warned that are within this line of storms, and then everything outside of this would be outside of our viewing area. So we'll allow our friends and colleagues in Tupelo and Columbus to take over coverage for that area after we wrap things up. But here in Memphis, things are quiet. We do still have some of that rain lingering around the area, around Collierville, up towards Somerville and Brownsville, a little bit of light rainfall. Trevor's giving me a thumbs up. I want to see what he's been working on over there.
You'll appreciate this, Kit. And I will tell you, I didn't know we still had that Corinth camera, so I have a new scene in there called Corinth Camera. It has the proper sponsor, so if you could just pull that in for us to use it, I'll get a look at that here in a second, too. But I wanted to show you the time lapse from earlier from this crazy shelf cloud that we saw. These storms, these shelf clouds usually have a lot more bark than bite. Usually it's almost just like a gust front. But I want you to watch this, and I want you to watch the cloud because you can almost see it rolling in the turbulent atmosphere. This is a time lapse from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., somewhere around that time. It was about an hour, and we sped it up to 15 minutes. So watch this as these storms come in from across the river, and what you're going to see is, again, that shelf cloud rolls in, and you can almost see it kind of turning as it rolls over downtown ahead of the main line of thunderstorms. So that was what we saw earlier. We got so many pictures of that incredible shelf cloud, and me and Kit talked about the fact that we knew it was going to be a really good time lapse, and that it was. We'll play it one more time for you. But again, that was about over the span of an hour of that shelf cloud. The leading edge of that thunderstorm came right over downtown throughout most of West Tennessee and northern Mississippi. And then it was still, 20 to 30 more minutes before the rain actually started. So those clouds were well ahead ahead of the actual areas of rain, but some wild clouds out there earlier. I do want to take you back to that Corinth camera. This is from our friends over at Iron Rail Cams. This is actually at the Corinth Railroad Museum. I actually have a buddy of mine that is kind of a train hobbyist. They like watching trains and watching them come through. So they have an online network of cameras at train stations so guys can go on and watch the trains roll through. And he was able to provide this for us so we could kind of get a view of what goes on in Corinth as these storms come in. This is the only place you can get a live view of Corinth here in the Mid-South because there are no other cameras out there. And of course, it's going to stay focused on the train tracks, but it still gives us a view as these storms are kind of riding in there. And you could definitely see off in the distance that shelf cloud is passing over. It's probably a wild view in Corinth right now. Hopefully we can get some photos of that. But again, the rain has not yet started there at the Corinth Rail Museum. You can see that kind of that rain curtain back in the distance as the heavy rain and thunderstorm activity is starting to roll in. So we'll set with this for just a minute and kind of watch, because this is the area of the storm. You can see the trees just starting to blow around up there as the storm is bowing out. And kind of producing that bow echo signature that's really indicative of winds that could be as high as 60 miles an hour. So you see those trees really whipping around, even that light fixture there at the train station, kind of getting a little motion to it too. So right when that shelf cloud passes you in Corinth, you're going to start to feel the high winds. And then a lot of times when the rain actually starts, the winds can even pick up a little bit more. Those raindrops can almost pick up some of the wind from the clouds and kind of carry them down. So again, you're looking live in Corinth, right in the middle of downtown, right at the train crossing. Kind of makes that X there, right at the Corinth Railroad Museum. And we're watching that storm cloud come on in and produce some heavy rain and high winds. Again, we don't have any tornado concerns at the moment. We did have one tornado warning earlier today in Fayette County. We don't have any confirmed reports that actually ever touched the ground, but we did have a lot of reports of high wind gusts through Memphis and Shelby County. We had reports of trees down on homes near Sea Isle Park and Parkway Village earlier. We also had reports of damage at the Arlington Safe Room. Their tornado shelter there at Arlington Elementary School had pieces of the roof blown off. We understand it was like a waterproofing layer to the roof, almost like a tarp. So it didn't actually affect the structural integrity of the room, but it did get blown around a little bit, and we had some damage reported out there. Also, several trees were reported down in Somerville and Fayette County. We'll come back to that camera here in just a moment, but I do want to go back to the radar and talk about what's going on now. Again, most of the Mid-South is done with severe weather. If you're in Arkansas, most of West Tennessee, and a good chunk of North Mississippi now, this severe weather threat is over. Memphis and Shelby County, we do not expect any more severe weather tonight. We are still watching this line of thunderstorms that's from Selmer, coming through Corinth right now, Ripley, Mississippi, about to come into New Albany, and then just now coming into Oxford. We'll track this out one more time. Again, it's moving east at about 60 miles an hour. That puts it near New Albany at about 7:19, near Boonville at 7:33, and then Iuka at 7:39. So that really pushes it out of our area. If we give this another 30 minutes, these storms should really start to clear out of our area, and we'll be looking more in the clear. But I'll start kind of off in the north. Selmer, you're starting to clear up. You did get some heavy rain and wind a bit ago, but we're looking a little better there. Corinth, it's just now coming into town with some high wind gusts there. And I'll go over to the wind mode and show you. We're going to kind of bounce between radars here. But where you're seeing those brighter colors showing up right into town, that is where we likely have some decent wind gusts, probably at least 40 to 50 miles an hour that's coming into Corinth right now as we speak. And I'll go back to that camera. We probably are getting a little bit more rain now. And there you can see it literally as we say it, that rain's starting to come down in Corinth. And some high wind gusts in there as well, 40 to 50 miles an hour with this thing rolling into Corinth. So that's just one part of the storm we're watching. We're also watching more storms to the south. Oxford starting to get it as well. Heavy rain and high winds there. And then coming into Ripley, Mississippi. All of these storms could produce winds of 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour. And a good bit of lightning. Hopefully nobody's on Sardis right now because they are definitely seeing that lightning and heavy rain. Lightning looks like it might still be catching up on our data mode there in those areas. But heavy rain, maybe even some small hail just to the east of Oxford. So Kit, we'll stay with this for maybe another 20 minutes or so. Just let this get through Oxford and Corinth, and then of course it'll be out of our area. But for at least the next 15 or 20 minutes, we'll hang out right here and just watch this. Make sure these storms don't do anything crazy. But to me, for sure, the biggest concern seems to be those high wind gusts.
Yeah, and something cool is happening with the Corinth storm. We can sometimes see what's called bookend vortices, bookend vortex that is sort of on the outside of those storms. Think of a pitching machine. If you ever played baseball, think of a pitching machine. I have in football too, but whenever you have a couple of counter-rotating areas, and those two wheels either side of the pitching machine, you put the ball in and it shoots out forward. We're kind of having the reverse effect of that, of you have strong winds coming through, and that's forcing some rotation on the outskirts of this. It looks a little better a couple scans ago. So here I'll just zip it back there. You can see how those winds have been coming out of McNairy County into northern Alcorn County, and that's been pushing forward those two little green spots either side. I think that's probably the best view of that. So we've got that wind that's pushing it into that clockwise flow and then that counterclockwise flow. So something just interesting there. And as sort of a hallmark of the winds of that thunderstorm, notice how it sort of pushed itself forward. That's leading to some of the stronger winds that are moving into the Corinth area at the moment. So that's just right along Highway 45 there, US 45, between the Guys and the Corinth area and just south near Rienzi, not quite that area there. Some pretty strong winds showing up on radar. At the moment, nothing really looks tornadic, so that's good. We hope for that, but everything is sort of on the edge of the radar view. This is sort of a sort of not really a dead zone, but an area where it's a little difficult to get an exact wind representation there of those storms, as it sort of gets a little too far from the radar site there. You can see another one happens even farther than that. So there's just a couple rings where the radar can sometimes be a little blind, just because whenever you have something that goes out with a radar beam and then it sends the signal back, sometimes it can be confused as a much farther zone, so that we get these little blind spots there on the velocity. But overall, everything looks pretty healthy as straight line wind gusts and just individual cells of thunderstorms here into parts of Lafayette County. We've got this cluster of storms there, a bit of a gap, another cluster, a bit of a gap, another cluster, so sort of tiger striped here at the moment with some heavy rain and some gusty winds, but nothing looks terribly large for hail. If we just put the hail on right now, really not showing up for anything. So that's some good news for this. There is some hail on the southern end where it's able to eat up a little more of the thunderstorm fuel, the Cape down into central Mississippi. Some of those storms have some hail threats, but we really aren't seeing the hail threat at this time. It's just the strong winds that are rolling through this area. So Oxford, it's probably starting to get a little bit noisy around that area. I'm a little more concerned for the wind gusts out towards this direction, just where we have the darker colors on the radar. That's showing the deeper convection. So that's a taller thunderstorm with more capability of those winds collapsing and falling down to the ground and creating that severe wind gust. Where we have these gaps, that's where we're really not going to see that strong of a wind gust, and there's a little less threat of that there. Water Valley, it's going to be picking up though in the next little bit. We've seen this area with a couple of severe thunderstorms this evening, this being now the second one. That's where we could see that storm ramp up here within the next little while. This area, the Storm Prediction Center put out a new discussion about on the leading edge of this severe thunderstorm complex here as it's moving into northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. This area is probably going to be it's all within the Severe Thunderstorm Watch, so I'll just pop that back on here for you there. So you can see it's not quite all the way to the Birmingham area, but this whole complex is going to continue to push east with those severe threats over the next little while. It's a pretty active region, but there's plenty of shear, there's plenty of energy out ahead of that thunderstorm. So all of those ingredients for severe thunderstorms is really going to be maintained through the evening. So if you know anyone that direction, send them a message, give them a call, make sure that they're also keeping a close eye on the weather this evening. Anytime we've got severe weather, it's good to look out for your friends, your family, your neighbors, making sure everyone's got multiple ways to get those warnings. And the phone tree is another way to to help your friends out and get them that warning. Of course, as Trevor mentioned, the Memphis area no longer within that severe thunderstorm watch. We were allowed to be canceled a little early here. So Fayette County, Shelby County, Tate County, I think it went through Crittenden all the way out to Cross, St. Francis, down through Lee and Phillips County as well. All of those counties are no longer within the severe thunderstorm watch. I would say Hardeman County, you're pretty much done since the warning is now outside of your area. Most of Marshall County, Holly Springs, Tate County, Tunica, Clarksdale, you're pretty much done as well. It just sometimes takes a little while for the National Weather Service to get back to closing down those severe thunderstorm watches there. But the severe thunderstorm warnings are what take priority, so they're keeping a close eye on that. Corinth, we have just seen that thunderstorm updated there. Looks like they just did some trimming on the back side of the storm, but I want to see if they've changed any of the parameters on that storm. Still 1-inch diameter hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds, no mention of tornado threat. That's until 7:45, though Selmer, you have been allowed to be trimmed out of that severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. I'm going to send things back over to Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett. Of course, both of us are in here keeping a close eye on these thunderstorms. We're going to be with you until these storms threats are done. What else have you been looking at, Trevor?
Yeah, Kit, just really starting to see this start to clear out of the area. I know most of us are kind of done with it. We're still watching that corridor from Oxford up to Ripley, Mississippi, and then up to Corinth. Those are really the only zones we're still watching for this severe weather threat. So I think what I'm going to do is let them get past Oxford and Corinth, and then we will kind of take a pause here. We'll leave you with some current conditions and radar, but we will take a break from our live stream here as the worst of the storms are kind of passing out. But that could be at least another 10 minutes or so. We'll hang out with you. I want to get an update on McNairy County because it does look like for the most part the heaviest storms are clearing out of Selmer. They're coming into Pickwick, though, so if you know anybody at Pickwick, I'm talking about 10 minutes maybe out to Pickwick Landing and the Pickwick Dam. A lot of folks out there right now. I know it's been kind of a chilly, dreary day, but I have seen the photos on social media. There are a lot of people out there. So if you know somebody, I just texted somebody a moment ago that I know is out there. They have 10 minutes before it's about to really storm with some gusty wind. And again, that's what's over Corinth right now. I'll take you back to that camera we have in Corinth in downtown at the Railroad Museum, and you'll be able to see just how gross it is. We had some high wind gusts, probably 40 to 50 miles an hour come through Corinth. Heavy rain now, and that's going to continue in Corinth for the next little bit. So Corinth, you are pretty much in the worst of it right now. This will start to clear up in the next 10 minutes or so. Selmer, the worst is now past you. Ripley, you're also in kind of the worst of it right now, but kind of on the back side of it. That's going to start to clear up here soon. Hickory Flat, you're clearing up. And then Oxford, you're also starting to clear up just a little bit as well. So for areas that we cover, which is, again, Oxford, Ripley, Corinth, Selmer, you're either in the worst of it right now or the worst is moving out as we speak. So, again, we're going to wrap things up here pretty soon. Again, still some gusty wind, heavy rain, but what you're seeing now in those areas, that's pretty much what you're going to get. We don't expect anything too much wilder than this. Notice the rain is starting to wrap up to the north. We still have some showers in Memphis. The severe weather threat is long gone in Memphis and Shelby County, but the rain going to continue here for the next couple of hours. Really, most of North Mississippi starting to see that severe weather threat wind down, but Lafayette County, give it another 20 minutes. The worst will pass you by. Same thing for Tippah and Alcorn counties, maybe another 10 or 20 minutes, and we will really start to look up here. I want to give you a look at the hour-by-hour radar here and just kind of reiterate what I'm talking about, that by 9 o'clock, even the rain comes to an end, and the rest of tonight is going to look nice and dry. There could be a pop-up shower or a thunderstorm somewhere, but I don't expect any severe weather tonight. Most areas are just going to be dry. Same thing for tomorrow morning. Through 7 a.m., I think we're nice and dry. By the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, though, thunderstorms are going to bubble back up. So I know most of us are off tomorrow. Some of us are off tomorrow at least. But if you are one of those people that's off and maybe enjoying your Memorial Day off outside, you will want to keep an eye on the radar because there will be more thunderstorms that develop tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. We might start off Memorial Day dry, but tomorrow evening, we're going to start to see those thunderstorms pop back up. Now, by Tuesday, things finally start to look better. There's a slight chance of a storm or two on Tuesday, but I think most of Tuesday's dry. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, not bad at all. Very slight chances of rain, but I don't expect anything like what we've seen the last few days. And then next weekend actually looks pretty nice. finally a sunny weekend. We've not seen that in a while, but I think Kit has hit the nail on the head with this forecast. I think we're looking much better by next weekend. Sunshine Saturday and Sunday. That does mean we are going to kind of warm back up, though, back into the mid-80s over the time we get to the weekend. I want to check out the rainfall estimates here over the last 24 hours because I was looking at some data here for March, April, and May. I was comparing the rainfall totals to records. So we've already seen in those 3 months, I think about 21 or 22 inches of rain over 3 months. If we can get an extra 3 to 4 since the time that I looked at it, we could be in the top 10 rainiest March, Aprils, and Mays that we've seen. It's obviously been a very rainy spring. We know that, but it'll be curious to see once we get to the end of May how that will actually line up. If we got enough rain in the last several days, obviously just in the last 24 hours, some of us have seen 1 to 2, even 3 inches of rain in a couple of neighborhoods. So we'll get that report to you soon, but definitely this will go down as one of the rainier springs, definitely more on the rainier side than what we have seen in the past. So we're going to start to wrap things up here. Corinth, Ripley, Oxford, I know you still have some heavy rain and storms. Those are clearing on out, though. In the next 10 minutes, these will start to clear on out of here. But for right now, heavy rain and gusty winds continue. Once this gets out of Corinth and Oxford in the next 10 or 15 minutes, you'll be left with some rain. But in general, we will start to see things wind down. So we're going to leave the live stream up at least through 7:30. We'll just leave you with a look at some radar and current conditions. Of course, meteorologist Kit Thomas back here for CW30 News at 9 and for ABC 24 News at 10. I'm back here tomorrow for the news at midday, but we're going to keep an eye on things. Just going to take a break here from the stream. So we'll send you over to our Weather Impact 24/7 stream right here on ABC 24 Plus. For meteorologist Kit Thomas, I'm Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett. Have a good night. We'll see you later.